Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We'll give it just a second while everyone's joining. For those of you who may not know, it's been a few times since I've joined a webinar. My name is Maddie. I'm the brand communications team lead for LTX Studio. And in a moment, you can see here we have Yoni and Corbett, who you all know and love, and they'll introduce themselves in a moment.
Okay, I'll start. Hey guys, I'm Yoni. I'm the new community manager of LTX Studio. I'll be here in these sessions from now on, replacing Nevo, and also on Discord. You can see me just in under the handle LTX Max. And we're here with Corbett, who is the genius and the tips and tricks master. And enjoy.
Yeah, hi everyone. And yeah, it's great to see you all and welcome Yoni to the team. Naveau has been working a lot on the product marketing side. So he's still at Electric's doing a lot of work, translating all this feedback we're getting from the community, working with the product team, and then getting that info into the roadmap and then getting it out and communicating what we've been releasing. So you might see his face in Discord, etc. But we wanted to continue forward the tips and tricks series since there's so much going on. I'll be talking about a few things, mostly, honestly, some really major features this time. But despite there being a lot of things to talk about in a packed agenda, we still are open for questions. So if you have anything, note that the chat is open. Since we have both Madeline here and Yoni, they can be answering questions while I'm presenting. But we might mark some of these questions to be answered live if it's relevant for everyone. So the chat's open. Feel free to use that. We don't have a way to call people to the stage, so we'll just do all the Q&A via the chat. So with that, what I'll do is I'll start sharing my screen in a second and going through some of the latest things. But since as the people are still kind of coming in, we want to give a little bit of a preview for what we're going to show today. So there's a lot of exciting things. I think the last one it was only like 3 weeks ago, yet somehow we have like a year's worth of stuff to talk about, I feel like. So some of the biggest news is that we released two new video models. So there's Google's VO2, which you can all use. And then there is our new LTXV 13B, which stands for 13 billion parameters. I guess that's just a fancy way of saying like how big this thing is when we trained it. But the last one was 2 billion parameters. And so it's kind of a step function forward in terms of its capabilities. And then we'll kind of compare and contrast VO2 and LTXV 13B, talk about where and how you'd use them, show some of the previews, and still we have other things to cover. So in the last tips and tricks, we gave a sneak peek to the timeline feature, which wasn't even out when we did the webinar. We kind of showed a little beta clip of it, but now that it's fully out and people have been using it, we want to show a few other tips and tricks there. And there's some new fun little tweaks that I really want to call people's attention to, and everything from the beginning of like the image generation space towards the middle part of creating a new actor or actress. And so we want to call some attention there. So we've a lot to cover, but drop in anything in the comments if you have any questions. And without any more further ado, I will just share my screen and kick it off. So give me 1 second. Oh, and let me make sure I share sound because I might actually be sharing some sound. 1 second. So I'll optimize this there. Cool. All right. So before we dive into the actual features, I want to show a few things to orient yourselves. I'm sure most of the people here are quite familiar with LTX Studio at this point, but just as a super quick recap, you're probably familiar with this starting screen, but there might be some things that seem new. So in the beginning, a lot of people knew to initiate a project either from scratch or with a concept. But these new entry points I want to call some more attention to because they've been really wonderful to start you in that exploratory phase. So instead of going straight to a storyboard, we found from talking to our users that a lot need to like play around with the art direction and get inspired before really committing to that storyboard and building that project. And so we'll show a lot of tips and tricks here. You might notice that there's a little some of the echoes on the sidebar here, but in the motion generator, we now have access to VO2, which is Google's motion animation, and then LTXV, we both have LTXV Turbo, the model past, which is and our new, which is the 13 billion parameter one. And that is on very efficient still. Also, Yoni and Madeline, despite me being at the office, somehow I got a internet is unstable message. So let me know if I'm coming through in a glitchy way or anything. So we'll show some things there. But before I even dive into that, I want to just pop over to this video. I'm gonna probably mute the sound, even though it's a very cool soundtrack. But just to show, and I can talk over it, the kind of relative speed of our model. So you can see like how fast and how like cost efficient it is to render really good clips really quickly. So instead of having to wait for one, single video, like 40 seconds from a lot of these other models, we're generating comparative videos back in a fraction of the time and a fraction of the cost. So that's great for our team in the sense that we can provide you like, 4 options to look through instead of just one in a faster time frame and for lower cost. So you can really keep that agile testing and learning approach to LTX Studio, but we've really amped up the quality level. So we'll show you some examples in the presentation soon. Cool. All right, so hopping over here. So to kick things off, I'm going to make just a really, random heist movie about like some 1980s, Miami style heist movie, just to have some kind of basis to show you some images and videos. But clicking in there, I wanted to point out some things here. So in this image and video generation workspace, I dropped in some random clips and did some visual exploration for this project. And you can see all my prompts here. But I want to call out a few things. So let me move my zoom bar 1 second. Okay, so if you notice here, I'm going to zoom in. We have 2 new things down here. Adding style reference, which you can just click and draw up and down like that, is kind of cool. But maybe you didn't notice how exactly to do that if you hadn't played around with it. And so you can drop in a new image here to do a style reference. And you can still do things like composition. So again, composition would be like if I'm uploading an example of a person on a boat like this. And you can, again, draw the strength here. And you might be familiar with the composition tool from the storyboard. And then style reference is more of if you're dropping in like, a style reference from some kind of coloring scheme that you really liked. And again, one thing that's kind of fun that people might not have known is honestly what I do a lot of the time is I start with some generations and then get something I like and then use that as my style reference. So here I started with some images. You might notice you'll get a lot more variety. So here's like different shots. They're trying to get you more variety. And then you could say, look, I want more like this one, and it'll get you more like that exact type of shot. So you can still narrow in, but this is purposely built to give you more variety for that exploration phase. But what I do is I kind of see now, if similar to this starting image, we've got a lot more just like that one with the boat driving in a particular way. Here it looks like we have a car in the water, which is kind of funny. So what I do often though is I query up a bunch of things until I get something I like, and then I use that one as my style reference. So I downloaded this one as an example, and then I use that as a style reference for my future shots. And so that's how I got some things that are like kind of similar in vibe. And I just sometimes draw it up, sometimes draw it down depending on the shot. So that's how I generated all of these. I played around with different things. You might notice there's different styles here that you don't see in the storyboard part. They're pretty cool actually. They'll get you very different results. So like if I have a man, I'm gonna take this off, but a man driving a speedboat, 1980 style, you can notice like this is in the pop one, and since it's asynchronous, I can keep generating. Here's I'll do Y2K. So you can generate a lot of images really quickly and they'll load asynchronously. But the built-in styles are really fun. And they also pair well with the other tools here. So it's not either or, it's kind of an and function. And so really quickly, look how much variety I got from my man driving a boat, So I would definitely start here when you're creating a project to get your art direction, get inspiration about characters, all of the above, like scenes, and then download those things and you can upload those to your storyboard so that you can move much faster when building this all out. So I covered a lot of ground just even with that image gen part, but and Maddie or Yoni, anything to add about the image gen part that you want to call out?
I think that the most exciting part of it is really the style and the composition, and you can like tweak how much do you want the images to be in the same style that you implemented, or composition. So I honestly haven't tried doing like a style that is like from a picture that I uploaded and the built-in style. I would try though after
Mhm.
your recommendation. But yeah, I think it's something that everyone should try, using their own style, using images that they like, and just try to make more of a cohesive scene with this feature.
Mhm. Yeah. So one of the things I did here is I tried to I've generated now tons of imagery, and it's a really handy like digital asset manager. You can navigate on the side from your generations, but I just scroll through it often. But I started with I was playing with different like uh title card sequences to open it up. I was playing around with different characters, people breaking into a safe. I didn't like this like super retro style. And so I gathered all these and then I started a project where I imported these in so we can do that together. But before I do that, I want to show a few things about the the video part. So as mentioned, we opened a new we have a new video models here for your use. So I kind of like the dramatic the single safe here that's kind of well lit in the center of the room. And let's say I wanted to animate something where the safe is being opened. Again, you can go straight from this image generation space to a motion part. So I can click add motion right here. And once I do that, I have different models here. So in the past, this wasn't available, but now if you look here, you can see we have the 13 billion parameter model, the 2 billion parameter model, which is the one you used to use, um, and now VO2. So I want to show you just a few things real quick to highlight all the capabilities. So the legacy model, I'll do 3 seconds for all these. If I click generate, this is LTXV Turbo. This is the one that we launched with. This is the one you're used to using. You can see how quick it is. We're generating 4 previews. And remember, when they play, they're kind of fast-moving animated GIFs. I didn't give it any direction, so I didn't say like the safe opens, but we can do that in a second. But with no direction, you can see it really quickly generated some options here. I kind of like this dramatic zoom in. It adds a lot of drama to my piece. But let's try the other model. So this is LTXV, again, 3 seconds. And again, we have 4 video previews here, which is great because a lot of platforms only give you one. And a lot of platforms take 30 seconds to load one video. And here we've amped up the quality, but now we're giving you 4 options. And so you can choose between them. Honestly, though, I think the quality really shines when you're giving it direction. So these basic scenes won't be that difficult for the legacy model. Actually, I really like this bottom right one. But if I were to say something like a person walks into the frame or the safe opens, when you add the more complex the motion, the harder, the better the model you want, basically. So now we've got some even more like dramatic shots. But once this one opened the safe by default, I didn't even ask it to. But we'll start prompting with motion so you can see the it shine. And then here, I'm going to do a 5-second VO2 clip. So I guess not apples to apples because it did 3 seconds for the rest. But you can see you get one image or one video preview. Since these will still generate in the background, I'll let this one go. But we'll generate one more thing. I'll say, how about in LTXV, 13 billion parameters, I'll say the safe slowly opens to reveal gold bars inside. And I'll do 5 seconds. And then I'll do that with VO2. I'll say the safe slowly opens to reveal gold bars inside. Notice the original video is still loading, and we're getting these new options from LTXV 13B. So here's the VO original. Pretty good. I don't know what the hell happened there though. So this is Google Video, and we got a little bit of glitches at the end, right? And so sometimes it's tough if you're waiting for one video and then it doesn't work out. So we can trim that in timeline, which I'll show you in a little bit. But instead, I like to work with the LTX models because I get this variety. And I'd say if you have really complex motion, definitely try VO. It's a good model, but for this kind of rapid iteration of your project, I honestly stick to LTXV a lot just to get this this back. So let's see what it did with the gold bars inside. That looks great though. So I like that. There's a lot of gold. probably too much. I don't think anyone would be having that much gold in Miami in a random office building. But yeah, these are good. So maybe I want something like this, but those gold bars don't look that great. So here I actually might go with VO. So it's nice that you have like the options here. I think they complement themselves well. Like VO is slower, but can handle complex motion. And then LTXV is very fast and it's awesome for this like prototyping phase. So really we wanted to arm people here. We wanted to arm our community with this like plurality, this amount of models where it can accomplish different things. And hopefully this is the start of you thinking about LTX Studio as like your content foundation where you can use the best that's out there and we'll pull it in for you. Yoni, Maddie, anything to add?
I just want to add regarding the LTXV model, I think the most important feature there is the start frame and the end frame. It gives you way more control on what you're doing. And I think like if you haven't tried it so far, I really invite people to try it. Maybe even generate an image in the image generation feature, and then with the InPaint tool, maybe make some changes inside the image and see what happens when you put one in as a starting frame and the second one as the end frame, and it's really amazing. Like you can have a lot of control, and if you put like longer duration, and that's maybe regarding to also the timeline feature, you can have seriously a huge amount of control of the output that you're generating. And like I feel it is amazing, like not being surprised with less like the first generation that was the safe opening another safe or whatever we saw there. And so this is a very cool feature, and I think if you haven't tried it so far, give it a try. The start and end frame, it's really amazing.
That's a good point. So here, for example, I could copy the start frame and then use InPainting to add something in, as Yoni said, or I can upload something. And often I was flipping back over to the image gen workspace because often I will create something in the image gen workspace and upload it as um, my second frame here. And when you're doing the kind of start and end frames, you still have all these options here. One thing I forgot to call out, VO is powerful, but doesn't have some of these options with it. So if you use VO, you don't have some of the ability to use the same tools that we have for LTXV. It's really just prompting to video. But with LTXV, you can do a lot of these same things like the tooling around, generative fill, generative remove. And so, for example, I might just, put, I'm not going to work too hard on this, so it's not going to be that great. But you can add in something like a person walks into the office, or I'll just say a man in a blue suit, 1980s style, Miami. Not really trying that hard here, but just to point out that you can, wait, let me move my zoom bar here. 1 second. My zoom thing's in the way there. So you can inpaint and outpaint with these tools. Or sorry, 1 second. I'll show outpainting real quick. So I could like remove, let me undo this. And so you can click here to inpaint. Let me do generative fill and add this, or you can generative remove too. So it's not going to be, I put man in a blue suit, not a really good prompt, so it won't like really mesh with the scene here. But that way you can control the start frame and end frame. I honestly usually work, yeah, it's a little bit out of, like I said, didn't really meld with the background, but here, if you use this as your end frame, you can just dictate what the start and end motion is. So this person will walk in and out. But again, I would play around with these things in the image workspace and then use that and import that image. But you only have that option when you use LTXV. Again, the start and end frames, that level of control is what we can give you with our models. But with Google VO, you just have to use the prompting tools. Cool. All right, so moving on from that, let's just say I popped these into a project here. So I want to show you a few things. The initial title frame, I'll upload a photo. I just uploaded, a background photo here. I didn't even put text on it, and I just said in the motion editor, I just said, the text, the heist. Here's And so you can add text with motion, but you can also add text in the beginning. So if I'm making a quick title card, and then I'll try once in VO. I find myself doing this a lot now, is generating them both and just taking a pick. But so here's an example. You could generate a title card. I might add a soundtrack. Oh, and I'll show you in timeline. I just realized. So we'll drop into timeline in a second, so I can talk about that. But here, I with one prompt, I got like the heist. This is what I had before, and then in my motion editor, let's see these previews pop open. These last few seconds always take the longest. So yeah, pretty good one from VO there, and then let's see these options here. Not this one, right? So looks like text VO got this one, so we'll use this one. So going forward, like let's say I have my motion preview here, and I've been dropping in my shots to kind of like world build. So I picked some of these scenes. Let's see. So I was dropping my shots that you remember I took from the image gen workspace, and you can generate motion like that. But honestly, I've been finding myself going to motion editor so I can quickly generate lots of options. Because if you generate it from this timeline like that, you'll just get one. In here, you can quickly generate lots. So there's a few notes there. So we see like our boat moving, etc. But let's say I wanted to add a character on here. I did want to call out something before going to timeline. I wanted to call out something around characters that's been really interesting because I think everyone's familiar here with like the cast function. But most of the people have been using this. Like they've been using a quick drafting a character using text. That's actually a different way of making a character than this library, which is basically making a mini model. It's called LoRA models, but it's making a mini model just for this character. And so when you tag them, it's not using like the main model, like the 13B or VO. It's really injecting in this kind of like specifically trained tiny model on just the character. So we have some defaults here. Little Corbett is not a default that's universal. That's just mine. But you have a bunch of defaults here. And more might come over the years, but these are actually going to be more consistent than just doing the quick draft characters. But up until recently, if you had checked it out, when you go to create an actor, the best way to do it is to upload photos. And if you just drop in, a dozen photos, you can get a good result that's very consistent. But I want to call out, you can also create them from a prompt. So here I went into ChatGPT and I just asked it, hey, give me an example of a detective, and it gave me a character, and I just copied over a prompt. I just wanted something quick to drop in here, and so if you drop in some notes here, it probably gave a little too much. I don't necessarily need all of the stuff, but even if I use this, it'll work. It'll generate some quick previews. And then that way you can get some quick feedback because honestly, training the model might take like 3-4 minutes. But this way, at least you can see if you're on target. And then if you're not, then you can edit this. So in the past, it didn't really get me what I wanted. And so the preview images were really helpful to make sure I was on the right track. But I would try using the kind of LoRA trained actors. Actually, that's pretty good. I would use these LoRA trained actors because you're gonna have a lot more consistency in your shots when you do it that way. So I can click create actor here. I don't think Little Corbett has a place in 1980s Miami in a heist movie, but we'll add, Marisa or this new actor here. Cool. So I've X'd out of my project. Okay, going back here. So now if I want to, I can tag my characters. So I might do like, you know, uh, an alleyway. Oops. Cool. Um, So as a quick call out, you don't have to like sometimes like pop over to GPT to get some options, but here we enhance locations and characters for you too. But just double check that it's what you wanted because sometimes it might not get there. But here it looks like this is what I wanted. So let me click apply, and I might say, oh, it's still training my character, I think. Hold on. Yeah, still training. But it's training there, but I'll add this character I made before. So create. once you train an actor or actress, you still need to add them to your project. So they will persist beyond your project. So if you created, Marisa in this project or Little Corbett in a previous one, they'll persist across your projects, which is really helpful. I don't know if people knew that, but here, if I create this character, now I have her here. But if I dropped into another project, I could still pull her into that too. So that's one really powerful thing about using it there. And then let me go back. And then I have my alleyway here, and I'll say Musa leaning against a car in the alleyway. Oh, and then one note. So here we go. So it took a quick second to load, but that's what I wanted, like a dim alleyway. We got Marisa leaning against the car there. Um, we should call it a few things. As I mentioned, it's honestly been faster a lot to generate images here. And one thing to note is right now you can't yet call characters here, but coming very soon we will be able to do that. And then another quick sneak peek that's very exciting is with the same consistency that we have for our creating an actor, which has generated a lot more consistent characters, we will be soon coming out with something that lets you train products. And so it's a nice sneak peek here for the audience, but the product placement LoRAs are something that we're working on. It's kind of the same technology behind making these consistent characters. And we found a lot of people ranging from brands or just, studios that want consistent props, like a backpack. That's something that we are looking into. And so if you sign up for our Discord, you'll see you'll be the first to know once that's out. And I think we also have some beta testers, but Yoni might know more about that than I do. We've had some beta testers for different products, but frequently we're looking at the Discord community for that. So to recap, we covered LTXV 13B. We covered VO2, kind of the pros and cons, like when to use them. We covered some of the new things around actors, like training via prompts, not just the images. And we covered some of the stuff around the image gen workspace. And again, coming soon to image gen workspace is characters. So you could just iterate on the characters here and then import stuff quickly into your project here. Last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about the timeline. So last time we chatted, this was just in beta, but we gave a sneak peek to the audience here. But now you can just click here and get your project lined up in a really handy editor view. I think this is freaking amazing because personally, when I've tried to make final products in LTX Studio, the last mile took a long time, especially because you often had to, in any platform, in any video platform, you often had to just select your duration by the seconds mark, whether it's VO or whatever. And that doesn't give you the kind of control that you want. And a big theme for us is quality, consistency, but control. And so I think this really helps. So I'm actually gonna delete that clip. So you can see I can move things around. I can drop things in, and it gives you this ability to kind of craft your project. And I could trim clips. Some of these things don't have motion, so I could go into motion editor and quickly add them. But it gives you the ability to like trim clips really easily and achieve your vision. But there's definitely a few things to call out here. One, you already saw me by muscle memory bump into, but the sound effects that normally are in the core project, I'll go back here so you can see the sound effects that are normally up here, it's moved to timeline. And so what you'll want to do is you can drag and drop sound here, use sound effects or search music here. So I could type something in here. Um, so I could type in something like that, and you can get any kind of keywords that will give you a bunch of options. There's honestly like endless options here, but I've seen a lot of people now go to something like, Suno or Udio and drop in their music. But the cool thing is, I'm just going to pick something random. The cool thing is once you have that, if you notice down here, this is amazing. Like you can actually trim and crop your sound effects here, or your sounding track, and line it up with your video, because one of the hardest things I think is to get that kind of mashup between the scene transitioning at the right time with the music. And here you have this like tons of control to line it up. And it's like a really easy, handy UX that I think a lot of people are familiar with. And it's just kind of the start. There's a lot more you can do with this, but already it's been super powerful. Let's also say that we have an explosion, which I don't have yet, but maybe like the boat blows up or something. I can take an effect and drop it in here. So you can notice there's multi-layers and you can have multiple tracks for videos. So here, maybe if we have time, I'll just make something that explodes so we can line it all up so you can see. Why not? Let's go back to, let's say, I'll go back to our project and I'll just take something that exists like the boat and I'll just say the boat like explodes or something. And we'll do that and we'll try some LTX, not turbo, I'll do LTXV. And so you can match up like a crucial part of your scene really easily in timeline. A few notes though, when you're editing in timeline, we do allow you to like sync it with the storyboard, but you want to pay attention to the edits you're making here, making sure it's synced. You'll notice a few things here. If you notice down here, it says update clips because I've moved some things, but it wasn't updated, and that way it'll sync it. So pay attention to how things are updated there. And then also, you might notice over here, you can kind of drag and drop or drag to get the right like zoom effect so you can manage the space here. Otherwise, it might be too much or too little to see at once. But if we're playing this, I don't know how loud that is for people on the call. It sounded kind of loud to me. So we have that, and then if I go back to my storyboard and we have an explosion, let's check in on how that's doing. Wait, 1 second. It's okay. Let's try video as well. But anyways, this is probably good enough for now. Sure, why not? So, if you notice here, let me zoom in again. So now we've got our, I mentioned we have the dual tracks here. And as a quick call out, not to get on a tangent, but if you notice here, my actor that trained is ready. So it does take a few minutes. That's why the preview is really helpful, but you'll get a notification up here in the top right when it's done. So here, you can overlay multiple video tracks. When you drop in videos, honestly, it often usually defaults to dropping at the beginning. And so if I want this explosion happening over here, I'll turn it there. Let me just drag this here, drag this here. Now, let's see. If I drag this over, and let's see, the boat actually explodes like right here. So that's kind of like where the music is or the sound effect is. So let me just play it from here. Boom, 80s action right there. So could you hear that, guys? You and Maddie? I can't tell if you, okay, cool. Notice again, yellow dot, I made changes here that won't be updated in the storyboard. And so you'll need to keep an eye out for that to sync them correctly. But it's like, this took me forever. And sometimes you'd have to export it to a different platform, but now you can do all the editing in here. It makes this is such an invigorating movie. I just have so much energy now watching this boat blow up. So hopefully you can notice that it's going to be a huge boon for you as an editor to have that here. But finally, I want to call out on the editor, you have access to all the things you generated from the other parts of the platform. So if you click all, you'll notice it's pulling in all these images. So every video I made, every preview, when you hover over it, you'll see the quick preview, which is so handy. But you can also just go full screen with that little button there. I'm not sure if you can see this. Let me zoom in. So that button there, you can go full screen. And you'll notice everything I've generated, all the clips from the beginning are here. It does take a minute to upload since there's just so much video being processed, but you can drag any of these in. So here are some of my old save clips. Like, let's just pull one of them. Let me see. That's just kind of too slow. We'll just pick this one. So I can drag this over, oops, click, and then insert it. And then it inserted it where the playhead is right here. But note that by default, it'll probably insert at the beginning unless your playhead is in the project already. Cool. So, I mean, I think this is dope. But any questions from, I haven't been looking at the Q&A. Any questions from folks on the chat?
We do have a relevant question, but I also just want to point out that we also work with the auto sound effects. If you do enable that within your storyboard, you will see it, and that won't be separated as a separate audio track. So that's something to kind of play around with. You can use it in conjunction with a bunch of the different sound effects you can add within the timeline. But that is something that once generated with that motion, that is kind of stuck together with your visual.
A really good point. I didn't even think of that. So yeah, as you saw there, you can update it um from the storyboard or here. And that way it will be synced. It should be synced. Honestly, it's pretty good. If you have kind of a obvious thing going on, like a drum or an explosion, it's good. The only time the auto SFX doesn't work is if it's kind of like a ambiguous movement, and it might just not really be knowing what you're trying to go for. But if it's pretty clear movement or action, it's the audio SFX is pretty good.
Also want to shout out just to Lori. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm going to write you a little message in the chat, but the timeline is able to support the maximum generations we support for our storyboards and our projects in total. Corbett, her question specifically is how many minutes can you put in the timeline? It's supposed to support as many scenes and frames as we generate. It kind of depends on your specific project, but you shouldn't have any issues with kind of a time limit there.
Yeah, I mean, practically speaking, I've seen projects at least in the 4 minutes or something. I guess I haven't pushed it beyond that. We are seeing more people experiment with longer and longer narrative films with AI, and especially with this type of thing. Honestly, I think timeline is one of the big blockers to getting narrative films because when you're doing something experimental, it's easier. But narrative, if you have too many glitches or issues, it kind of pulls the audience out of the experience. And a big one is timing. Like people are more forgiving with especially kind of more like cartoonish or stylized motion. But if you have like really good like narration matching up with music and video, it keeps people in the zone basically. So I feel like that's been a really big boon towards people trying to make um narrative stuff. And I don't hate this music by the way, but I would say like I've seen a lot of success with people just dropping in like Suno or Udio as these like music clips. And so play around with that for sure. But if you're not getting what you want, then just test out bringing something else in. Same goes with the dialogue. So you can type in the dialogue here, and we have tons of options. Notice that my cast, I actually have assigned voices to them. We have tons of options, so many. I don't know when last time people have checked, but there's a lot. But what I've seen people pull in things from whatever 11 Labs, just recording it themselves. We really view LTX Studio as a foundation where you can pull in your work, and I think Timeline is a really good way for you to start editing it there. So I hope people start viewing it as a place that's like foundational to their creation, and just test pulling in things. If you already have pre-made like sound stuff like that, try pulling it in here. And again, if let's because I'm guessing this question will come up, but if you have a video that you want to use, we know the obvious desire from a lot of users is they want to pull in video to here, and you can imagine we're thinking of that. But one thing I'd say is if just take an image from it, drop it in here, whether it's composition or honestly, you can pull in images straight into the storyboard like we just did here and then animate them. So I can drop in any image from here. And so you can do that and animate it using all the motion tools we talked about. So you can start pulling in your assets and keeping it all together in this project. But we're definitely aware of the desire for people to like be building, with this as the foundation and their desire to pull in assets, even like videos. I think we're getting some stuff in the chat. Let me see.
Yeah, I have one that I do want you to answer live, Corbett. Any tips and tricks on how to translate the actors? I'm assuming this is actors. Please correct me if I'm wrong. To improve the actors within the storyboard, kind of once they're created either from a prompt or a picture, are users saying that they doesn't translate so well into their storyboard?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me go back to this. So, when you create the cast and characters, you'll notice that you do have like some default settings, like their their clothes, for example. And so you do have some default items here. You can change that like in the scene. But I wonder if people were using, and feel free to drop in more notes, but personally, I've had more trouble when I'm not using the LoRA trained actors to get that consistency or to get them to do what I want in the scenes. But we might even do, that could be even a topic for another tips and tricks, is like going through the character work, because that's always been a top concern of people to get like that consistency. But let's try something here. I mean, maybe this is what people are talking about. Um, like so maybe it's just a matter of it's not like responding in the chat. To be honest though, the biggest shortcut I can probably say is that very soon you'll be able to tag characters in the image generation workspace. And that workspace in general just magnifies your output by like 5x. And so I would do all my like exploration there, because when you're doing anything like generating a video here or generating the seed frame, it's very slow. The storyboard is not where I've been working. Yeah, like, so you're right, it didn't really pick up the all white suit direction I gave her. Personally, I think what one of the hacks I would do then is I like very soon you'll be able to tag the characters here. And one thing you could do now is you could take the storyboard, take your image, and just download that and then upload that into the image generation workspace. And that way, as a reference, you can let me 1 second. I have so many windows up and I can't even see what I don't know if you guys can see my I'm trying to find the image of the woman I just downloaded. There it is. So one thing you could do is maybe use this to say like or and then you can even use it as like the style reference too, but maybe I make it a little less. But that, I mean, I'm kind of hacking it because I can't tag the character here. But that's one way, is to quickly iterate on it. Is in general, I would operate more in the motion, in the image and workspace. I'd find myself not really using the storyboard for exploration at all anymore, because it's just too slow and it's like kind of painful to. So here we go. Like we kind of got her already like getting closer. Again, not the consistency of what I wanted for my character. It's not exactly my character Marisa down here, but you can imagine once you can tag a character, you'll be able to quickly iterate the way you want. Um, sorry, I'm zoomed in, so it's glitching a little bit. You'll be able to quickly iterate how you want to like change their clothing, change their position. And if I wanted to, I could play around with these values to get something a bit more. But yeah, I think the short answer is I think we need to just be putting characters in here so you can iterate faster on that image. Do you think that answers it, Maddie and Yoni? Do you anything else you'd add to how to handle it?
No, I think
I think just go ahead, Maddie.
not too much more to add.
Okay, I'll just say that part of the process is really trying to get the consistency that we want, is always to try more and more and generate more images and really pick the one that works best for you. You can always see like glitches and mismatches in characters everywhere, like in a Gen AI space, and it's something that like it's normal, and we all need to understand it's part of the capabilities that we're working on right now. So I think it's just keep on generating the images with the characters, and you will eventually get the ones that you want, like the shots that you want for the character.
So I did just change. I didn't usually, this hasn't made a big difference for me in the past whether I do it here or here, but I guess just try the clothing setting. Maybe it is more, let's just see. Maybe it draws from that a lot more than I thought. But in the past I would just drop it in here. But you can again change the style, clothing, location per scene. I thought it's often for the seed image, you can just do it all in the prompt here. If as long as there's nothing negating it. The biggest issue I come across is when I'm trying to do something that goes against a global setting. And but still, even here, it's kind of annoying to manually cycle through images one by one. So I still prefer the image gen workspace. But if you are struggling with the clothing, try it here. The biggest issue I've had in the past is if there's a global setting, like a global style setting or a set location that's messing me up. Like, for example, if the location says you're inside the house, you will struggle to get a shot outside the house. So make sure there's nothing negating your prompt in these settings here and globally. That's one thing. But yeah, if you're really just trying to fix the clothing per character, if that was a question, you can, I would just, it looks like this is definitely the best way to go, is the explicit clothing section here.
Awesome.
Cool.
Also, we do have one more question that I think multiple people may also be wondering. Characters, again, I'm going to go ahead and assume this is the trained actors. Can you just address if they work with the lip sync feature?
Huh. I actually haven't tried that yet, now that I think about it. Let me check something out. So
I think that it's something that we're working on
oh,
right now. Like we have the regular lip sync with the dialogue text that you can do, but we're also adding a feature of um, like a live portrait of a person, so you can actually like mimic the character, move your head around, and do the lip sync on your own. So this is a feature that it's going to come soon, and now you have the regular lip sync text to voice option.
yeah, it looks like I just tested it out here because I've definitely used lip sync a lot, but more recently I've been doing just like narrative things, I guess, and importing audio a lot because I like importing audio because you can get such high quality. Um, but I guess with the lip sync thing here, it looks like it was working with Marisa, who is a LoRA trained character. So it looks like it still works. Again, it's taking a little longer. I expect that. If you haven't tried this yet, the face capture stuff, it's cool, but it takes a long time to load. It's not like the just typical 15 to 30-second video. This is a more like computationally heavy thing, face capture and sometimes lip syncing. So it looks like that was working. It's not like it was blocked. So it looks like for LoRA characters, you can still do the lip sync option. Cool, cool. All right, so to recap, because we're getting a little closer on time, I just want to recap and then we can take some time at the end to chat through some other like housekeeping items. But so we covered the new models, LTXV 13B and VO2, what you'd use them for. Again, I'd play around with both, but complex motion, these new models are great. You get more previews with LTXV and it's a little faster. But I think with very complex motion, we've had users love the slower but high quality VO2. One call out, I think we are the most efficient place to test VO2. We are offering it as efficiently as we can at the lowest cost we can. And so if you want to play with VO2, LTX Studio is the best way to do it. It is the cheapest way you'll get to play around with the model. So keep that in mind. We're doing that just because we're trying to, be good to the community. And we want people to try it out and check it out. We also previewed all this stuff around timeline. So I think this is a pretty revolutionary way to interact with the platform. And I really encourage people to try it out from the narrative basis alone. It gives you a lot of power to craft the timing and the shots that you want. And keep in mind to sync your shots, but also keep in mind that you can pull in anything. So use the image and workspace. And speaking of, we also talked about the image and workspace, how it's so fast and powerful, and how this now links with the motion and how it's made for exploration, but you can narrow in on more like this, and you can still use style reference and image reference. Finally, we talked a lot about characters. It sounds like there's a lot of questions in the audience on characters, and so we might zoom in here for one of the next ones and do a little more deep dive there. But these characters, when you create from photos or prompt as creating an actor or actress, it is going to be much more high powered because it's training like a mini model on them. Previously, you had to upload images. Now you can create from a prompt. And these characters will be universal across your projects. So you can access these folks anywhere, which is really helpful. Lastly, let me go back here. Uh, we've dropped in just like this additional tools for motion generation. But again, I'd play around with all of the above. And any asset you generate here, you can pull in from timeline. So really important to note the timeline. You can pull in audio and pull in video from anywhere else in the platform. So definitely check all those out. So with that, let me see if we have any more questions we should cover before we do some final notes and housekeeping.
Nothing in the chat right now. Here's your chance, everyone.
Yeah. Well, with that, so Please, if you haven't, check out the Discord community. Yoni's there moderating it. Some of our great opportunities for seeing the newest what's out there and for influencing our roadmap. It's there. We see what the community says and we factor that into our roadmap. So check that out if you haven't already. And then last but not least, we do these monthly. But yeah, Maddie, is there any other events you want to call out for the community outside of just, in 4 weeks, the next tips and tricks?
Stay tuned for any of you who may be based in London. We will be around South by Southwest London. So keep that on your calendars, and more details on that coming soon.
Looks like we had one last question about VO credits. Yeah, VO does use, it's computationally expensive. It does use tokens, so keep an eye on your computing seconds when you're accessing it. And I wonder if it says, let me go back to my platforms to see if it talks about, yeah, it calls out that it's higher cost, like when you're clicking on it. So just test around, definitely try it out. But when exploring things, use the Turbo, the fastest model, or LTXV, our newest model, to keep your cost down if you're mindful of like the token consumption there. Cool. All right. Well, oh, and someone asked, do we have a CPP? We are working on it. We have a teammate, Adam, who is collecting info on it, and there'll be more news coming out there. And then again, Discord channels where you can keep up to date with all that news. But yes, we are working on one. Awesome. All right. Well, with that, everyone, we will post this on YouTube, so we'll see you on the internet. But thank you for the time and attention, and go check out all the stuff we talked about and give us some feedback on it. We'd love to hear.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Corbett and Maddie. And I invite you to join the Discord. There are 50,000 people there, and you can ask your questions. You can just share your experiment and your experience in the platform, and it's really insightful. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
See you,
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.